Welcome to Elder Savvy. I am Anna Seery, the Director of the Pembroke Council on Aging. We are a human service agency. Our mission is to provide and coordinate services to the senior community of Pembroke, assisting them to live within the community with dignity and to enhance the quality of life. To accomplish this, the challenge is twofold: to identify the needs of Pembroke's senior community and implement programs and services to meet these needs by encouraging self-reliance, good health, and community involvement. The goal of Elder Savvy is to provide content-related topics from experts in the community to enhance the residents' quality of life. Janet LaBerge is my guest today. She is the owner of Dirty Deeds Done Cheap and Good Deeds Thrift Store. As a formal social worker, Janet brings a unique understanding and compassion to her clients, often senior citizens who are in the process of downsizing, or sometimes called right-sizing.
Thank you, Anna.
The first thing that I would like to ask you is, how did you come about opening this business?
Well, I was a social worker for the Department of Mental Health for a number of years and had a client that suicided, and I was the person that found her and met her family at the hospital and that sort of thing. And that was the tipping point for me that said, it might be something else I want to do. So I started doing a lot of different kind of things, and along the way really found that I liked cleaning things out, starting out with a messy basement and ending up with a nice clean one that really appealed to me. As you know, social work is a very process-oriented field, and cleaning things out is there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. And so that's how I get started.
Good. And so your business has kind of blossomed and grown.
It's gotten a lot bigger than I would have ever thought. Yeah, our biggest challenge has always been finding a way to move things along, because I'm from New Hampshire originally, so I can't throw out anything that's not broken, as all of us good New Englanders are. And so I used to just give everything away, and that was an awful lot of work, trying to find homes for everything, dropping things at Salvation Army Savers. So that's been our biggest challenge, and over the last 2.5 years, we opened our own thrift store called Good Deeds. So Dirty Deeds does the dirty work, Good Deeds does the good work. And now we have 6,000 square feet of retail space in Pembroke, right on Route 139. We sell everything from cleaning supplies to furniture. And once the sales cover our expense of running the store, everything over and above that goes to a different local charity. So we're really meeting our mission of keeping things out of the landfill, helping people out, and paying forward to our community.
So, and I know that one of the challenging things for seniors when I talk with them is decision-making of moving. And, you know, a lot of times moving is downsizing and getting rid of a lot of possessions, and it becomes an overwhelming task. And for some people, they'd say, I just can't do it, I'm not going to move. However, life events, they need to move, whether it be health issues, trying to be closer to a family member in another state, looking into a senior housing complex. And it is traumatizing. It's overwhelming.
It is. It's overwhelming for all of us.
And this is something that, you know, I've heard that you kind of have a little niche in, is that you're compassionate towards the people. You understand, you know, the process that they're going through, of trying to, the mementos, the photos, the
emotional attachment to the items they have.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you start, like, how do you start engaging with somebody who really wants to think about, I need to do something, but I don't know how to start? What do you recommend?
Well, I always tell people, it's like the old joke, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Okay.
You have to really try to break it down and look at it as a process and to break it into manageable steps. So I'll meet with somebody, and sometimes I meet with somebody and it's months before they start something, but usually, unfortunately, people get under the gun because they've decided to sell their house and they don't realize it's going to sell as quickly, or they've had a life event where a partner has passed, or they had a hip replacement, or they now need a house with a bathroom on the first floor, or they're just tired of lawn mowing and winters and all of that, and they've just decided to move. So they set a timeline, and normally I'll meet with them and talk about the process and give them a game plan of what they can do to get started on things. So it's helpful to give yourself enough time to do it, because I think I would be overwhelmed. Looking at my house, I would be overwhelmed as to how am I going to get rid of all this stuff? Yeah. It's even harder if you're elderly. You don't have the stamina you once had to lift things, move things, get rid of stuff. So I'll give people a game plan. My number one hint is your family and your friends are not going to help you, because to a person, someone says, "Oh, I've got kids. They'll come and they'll help me," and then they get all mad when they don't.
Yeah.
But it's an overwhelming process. Your kids are working, have kids of their own. People just don't have the time they used to have. So I always say to people, do yourself a favor, hire some professionals. There are move managers, there are organizers, there are junk removal companies like myself, there are stagers to stage the house. So there's a lot of help out there. My recommendation is that people don't look through the yellow pages, which a lot of older folks do, but that they get a referral from somebody that's already worked with somebody and they like them, and that person is insured, so that they have somebody reputable coming into their home. The elderly is still the fastest growing population that's getting abused in the United States, as you well know. And some of that is from their own relatives, but some of that is because they're a trusting group and somebody says, "Oh, I can help you get rid of this stuff," and they come in and what they're doing is casing the house. So you want to work with people that someone else has worked with
With a
and
recommendation.
trust. With a recommendation.
Knowledge and recommendation, yeah. You said your family and your friends don't help you, and it just makes me think oftentimes too is stories I've heard, they still have boxes in their attic of their kids' school papers and this and that emotional attachment to all of this. And then the kids say, "What are you saving that junk for?" So then it becomes, an insulting, a
struggle.
Right, because what is memorable to them is not validated by the children who really don't care as much or don't seem to. And so those are the big parting things. So what do you recommend for somebody who has a lot of the emotional attachment, however they haven't opened that box for 40 or 50 years?
My favorite thing about the elderly is that it is the greatest generation. It really is. They're great to work with because I tend to be a real straight shooter and they tend to be really straight shooters too. I remember meeting with a woman and she was just kvetching about her son. He lives in Florida and he won't come up and help, and I know he's going to come look at those report cards. I know he's going to want that. And I said, "Listen to me, Enid, what are you, 85 this year?" 85, and she was in good shape. And I said, "How many years do you realistically think you got left?" Let's say 10, right? Your son lives in Florida. How many times does he come up a year? Once, twice? You got 10 visits left with him, maybe 15 or 20. Do you want to spend them arguing over grandma's drop-leaf table and the report cards he has up there and his toys that he had from years ago? Or do you want to hire somebody like myself for short money, get the job done, and then when your son comes up, you have 10, 15, 20 quality visits with him? That sounds pretty good.
Well, that's reframing it.
So it's a different way of looking at it, and part of what people have a hard time letting go of is that the stuff they have is still valuable, does still have a use to it. So we'll help them look at, well, can you donate these? If we're taking them out, we're going to sell them in our store, and the proceeds are going to go to a different charity. So you're helping a different charity every month. It is simply reframing, having people look at stuff and say, be realistic that your kids don't want to help with this, and what they really do want is to spend quality time with you. So that if in going through things you found photographs of your great-grandmother, or you found a brooch that was your great-aunt's and you want to share that story, you're sitting down and you're sharing that. It's something small that maybe they could bring home that they would like. But what you're seeing in your house is the hutch, the dining room set, those big pieces, and that's what's overwhelming you, and you are trying to transfer that to your kids and say, "Help me with this because I don't know what to do with it." And of course you want it, and they don't. The kids don't know how to say politely, I've got some of my own, it's not really my taste. I'm kind of more of a crate and barrel person, or Pottery Barn. So it's helping the person kind of be ready that that's what they're going to get and come up with a different plan. And for some folks, it's just they don't realize that there are people like me out there. They don't realize that their organizers can help with it. And they don't realize how many demands their kids have on their time already. So it's just having a conversation and giving them some other options.
Yeah, wow. So pictures, you said pictures, you know, and I'm a culprit. I have 2 tubs in my basement of pictures, and admitted to a group recently that I've got to do something with them. And of course, my children, who are adults also now, everything's digital. But there are the digital companies, and I need to just get those 2 tubs and go, and, you know, to even encourage folks that, you know, have your pictures, your photo albums, and there's now fairly inexpensive companies out there that you can send them to. So I need to practice what I preach.
Yeah.
So.
And even with your belongings, I've said that to some folks that maybe have a favorite hutch that they're not going to be able to bring with them to a smaller space. If it's not going to go to a family member and you just really love it, take a picture of it. Take a picture of it so you have that to kind of remember back. But most of what's important to people is in here and in here.
Yeah.
And it's just allowing them to let go of those things and do it in a way that's manageable. And they're able to do that. It's just giving them a roadmap because it is so overwhelming. So,
if you look at like somebody who's lived in a home for 50 years and you go into a home, so they probably may have some of their parents' belongings still tucked away and stowed, you know, their collection from their children raising their family over the years, and, you know, furniture that they no longer want in their main living area yet stowed. You talk about a timeline. What type of a timeline is that? You know,
here's what I tell people. First off, start in a room that you don't use that much.
okay.
Start in the garage, start in the basement, start in the attic, because generally speaking, what's going to be in those areas are things that you don't use that much, so it'll be easier. It's going to be hard for you to be in your kitchen and let go of your mother's spoon that she used all the time, or her crock pot, or her Pyrex dishes. So don't start there, because then you'll get defeated and it'll be, oh, I knew I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
If you start in the attic, probably going to have some seasonal items up there. But I always say, even in my own home, if I haven't used something for a year, I probably don't need it. And I'm so practical that if I don't need it, I would like to make sure somebody else maybe that does need it could have that item. So I want to make sure I can get it to that person. And most people of that generation also want to be practical. So they've held on to something because it has some value, it has some use still. So what I'll say is, well, let's get that to somebody that can use it if you're not using it. I will tell people, put things in piles. Here's the piles to use. You're going to keep something. That memorabilia is something you really need, or that sofa is going to fit perfectly in your new space. So there's keep items. There's items that you think maybe family or friends will want, because you've got neighbors and, geez, he might need that extra rake, or, you know, he's been eyeing my lawnmower and I'm going to let him keep it. So that's a pile, things you think family or friends will want. Then there's items that maybe you could sell. There are some items that you can consign, and I'll tell people who we trust for consignment stores, who we trust for antique dealers. You know, give them a list of places where they can sell things. So you're not expecting somebody to say, oh, I'm going to start taking the pictures and post them up on a Facebook page and sell them. That's too overwhelming.
Yeah.
But there are places that you can take the stuff to that will reasonably sell them for you. Then there are items that are just trash, things that are broken that nobody's going to want, that really just have to be thrown out. And then there are items that are recyclable, papers, plastics, glass, those kind of things. So you put things in those categories, and you do that in every room that you're in. Now, when it comes to the items that your family or friends might want, you have to set a date. Make it fun. Say, July 4th, we're having a barbecue at my house. I'm providing the burgers and the dogs. Have booze. If you have wine or beer, that gets things moving a little bit better. So you invite the nieces, the nephews over, the people that you want to give stuff to, and you say, it's a giveaway party. Here are the things that I think you might like. And let people go through them and let them take the stuff away. And then after that, that's your dateline. So that after that time, if they don't want them, Salvation Army is coming in, Savers is coming in, we're coming in, things are going to leave after that. Because what inevitably will happen is, I go to people's houses all the time, they say, well, my niece is going to take that. When are they going to take it? Well, the closing is Friday, they're going to be here Thursday. I said, don't make it Thursday, because I threw my back out, oh, the guy with the pickup truck fell through, oh, I heard there's going to be bad weather, and before you know it, now you're stuck. So I always say to people, give yourself a date that's, you know, well before the closing, well before when you need to have things out by, so that you're not stressed by somebody else's miscues. Same with if you're going to have a nonprofit pickup, Salvation Army or Savers. I've heard from many people, they got there that day and it didn't meet their criteria and they decided to not take it. Or they had an emergency come up and they canceled your job because they're picking up for free.
Yeah.
So have a plan B in place. Give yourself enough time, because that's what stresses people out, is now we're down to the last few days and I've got to get it done. So give yourself enough time to do it that way.
If somebody knows where they're moving to, so they already have their floor plan,
Yep.
do you work with them on how what do you want to take, what's going to fit,
Yep.
or
Sometimes some of the facilities, like a Linden Ponds, has somebody there that does that. That's their responsibility. And so some of the places do have somebody assigned there that will help them measure it out. We work with an organizer, Courtney Newcomb from Range South Shore. She's really good at doing that nicky-nacky kind of planning the space out. My recommendation to people is usually take what really is going to fit. Don't take too much or try to make things fit into a new space. Moving things is expensive. So you don't want to move something to a new space and then have it really not fit and get in the way, or now you're starting out feeling just really cluttered. Sometimes too, it's better to just say, let a lot of stuff go and not move very much. Move your grandmother's antique desk. That means a lot to you. But if you've had a mattress for 15 years, let it go, buy a new one. Because some of it is just an energy thing, that this was a home you shared with your husband and that has a lot of memories. Some of those are good, you want to bring some with you. Some of it is like, let's start fresh. Especially when somebody's moving to a place like Florida. Some of the furniture we love up here doesn't look great in Lanai. You know, you want rattan, so buy stuff when you're down there. And some of that is just a fresh start. So some of that just depends on where people are going. I don't do the measuring out that people, but there are folks that do that. And oftentimes if they're moving into an assisted living, one of the Wells Company properties like Proprietors Green in Marshfield or the Village at Duxbury, they have somebody right there that does the measuring. And so take advantage of those services because they're usually free.
Is there advice that you give to family members, like if they're there, you're there, they're there with their parents, and what are some of the things you tell them?
I try to tell people to have a sense of humor about it.
Okay.
To really not get so stressed, and to have a sense of humor about what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. And also to know that, to have a real dialogue. And oftentimes I will meet with the children who are trying to facilitate things and the elderly person, and really open a dialogue with them so that I can be the third person. As the former social worker, I'm the third person in the room who says, your kids really aren't going to want a lot of this stuff. Do you have a house full of stuff now? You do? Okay, so let's figure out what's important and what you'd like to take that really is important from your mother's house. What things represent an important event in your life that you'd like to bring with you, and what's just kind of stuff. And let's have a conversation about that so that you don't feel insulted by your stuff. Because I'll tell you, we like your stuff. We'll find people that will love your stuff. And is that what you want, is someone to love your stuff? Usually that's what they want.
Yeah.
And you want to generate some money from selling your stuff, and then I'll give them ideas of how to sell it. But sometimes people say, well, we're going to have a yard sale. So I always say when somebody has a yard sale, God love you. You're a better person than I, because I don't like them. Anytime I've held a yard sale and I have a beautiful, desk, and I've got it marked for $10, then it's worth $50 all day long. And somebody will come up and go, as is the rule, would you take $5 for it? Now they've made me mad, and I don't want to sell it to them at all.
Right.
So it's not usually about generating the income. It's just, getting some income. But I've reached a certain age in my life where I say, how much money do I make an hour? And how many hours is it going to take to price things, to put them out in my garage, to put the ad in the paper, to sit there on a Saturday and a Sunday, to put it back in my garage when it doesn't sell, and then find somebody to come pick it up. When you figure out how, even if you sell stuff and you make $500, if you divide that by the number of hours, most people will make $4 an hour holding a yard sale.
Yeah.
Some people I've met actually enjoy it,
like it.
And like visiting with their neighbors, we're moving, and telling them where they're moving. Most people don't. Most people get aggravated. So you have to kind of say, what's it worth? And especially if it's just you doing it, don't haul your kids into it and think they're going to be excited about spending a Saturday and Sunday doing it.
Exactly,
So-
exactly. And I've never had a yard sale, but my fear is always people coming in and making comments about things, and I know
Ooh, who would want that?
that feel a little insulted.
Yeah.
So, I'm just looking down here at my questions. And one of them is, do you help, and you did answer it before, but I want to just clarify it, provide assistance in helping people sell expensive items. So, you did mention, consignment stores, but they will come out. Will they come out to the person's home and talk to them? So if you said,
Right.
there's a couple, these are the people
Right.
you should deal with.
What I try to do is make it as streamlined as possible. I'm a small business owner. We like Elite Repeat in Hanover, which is right across from the old Starland. She's a real honest person. She's realistic in what she takes in and what she tries to sell things for. So she's a person that I recommend that people work with. But she's a small business owner too, and time is money. So if I'm at somebody's home and I'm looking at stuff and they say, here's some of the things family members may not want that we want to sell, and they point to a beautiful two-piece hutch, they don't even take hutches. Really, they're one of those items that people don't use in their homes anymore. And so I can break the news gently there and start with that. But if they have something that I know Irene will sell in her store, I'll say, let me do this. I'm already here. I've got a phone. Let me take a picture of it. I will email it to her so that if she wants it, she doesn't have to come over and meet with you, because their time is valuable too. So it streamlines. They don't have to meet another person. I'm going to take a picture, send to Irene. She's going to say yay or nay. And then I can say, look, she wants these things. When we come, we'll put them on our truck, the last thing loaded. So we'll drop them at her store, because she's going to charge, it costs to come pick things up. She's going to charge you to pick them up. We're already on site. If we have room in our truck, let us drop them off. Then I'm just going to give her their name and phone number, and they're going to fill out the paperwork together. So it streamlines the process, because part of what's overwhelming to people is having to meet so many new people and having to deal with so many new people. So I can tell people, here's the places I recommend. I think it's important for people to use their natural resources as much as possible. So in the town of Pembroke, it's fabulous. We have curbside recycling. People can put out all these papers, that Johnny's report card that he's not going to want. You don't have to shred it, put it in the recycling. Things like mattresses and box springs. We're going to charge you to take those away, because we get charged to take those away. Pembroke allows you to put out one set of those with your regular trash. And we're going to charge you $80 for that set. So you know what? The town of Pembroke will take it. You don't have to even call. Just put it out there with the regular trash. Now, you may not be strong enough to bring it out, so have a grandson come over and help you out, or have us do your job on a Tuesday if your trash day is Wednesday. Okay. So I will always ask people, what are your natural resources? Let's figure out how to move that stuff along as cheaply as possible, because it doesn't make sense to pay us to do something that you can have done for free. So we try to do that. Bringing your TVs to Best Buy, and Best Buy will take any TV under 32 inches. Take it to Best Buy if you have a small 19-inch. You can carry those out there. So do that rather than pay us to take it away. It gets recycled appropriately, but it's not going to cost you. If you bring it to the Pembroke Recycling Center, they're going to charge you. So we're trying to sit down with people and let them know the best ways to do things so that it's streamlined, it's cost-effective, and it's just easier. If they just have to deal with one person or two people, here's somebody I know that will do the organizing. She's a former social worker. She's really nice. I like her. You're going to like her. Yeah. That helps people. So they're more comfortable.
I just wanted to, our time is running out. It goes by so quick. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about fear. The fear of change, the fear of maybe getting rid of something that they shouldn't have. Do you see that a lot? A lot.
Change is hard. We're homeostatic individuals. We want to keep everything the same no matter what it is. So it's really hard. I always encourage people, if you have somebody that is a great sounding board for you, somebody that you really trust, have them sit down the day that I'm going to come over. Have them sit with you to help go through some of the more important things. Hopefully it's somebody that's a friend, a sister, somebody like, it's really hard. A lot of times older parents look to their kids to do this, and kids just sometimes just get frustrated and they want it over. They want to get to the end zone.
Right.
So try to have somebody that you trust help you through the process. Somebody you can talk with, because it is hard.
It is, and that's where that family dynamics comes. And sometimes the children only have so much time, and they don't want to sit and chit chat about, where this was made or where it came from. And so they try to push too quick and too fast, and that can be difficult. And
Right.
I know it's one of the most overwhelming things that I hear from folks is trying to figure out how to move, how to get
So
rid
then
of
they don't
things,
move,
and they
and they
don't.
get stuck. They just get
don't.
frozen.
And then that's not a good situation either,
Right.
because the bathroom's on the second floor,
Right.
and now they've.
Or you put some healthy fear in the person. You say, look, if you don't move out of this big house, when you do pass, your kids are going to put a dumpster in the in the driveway, and everything will get thrown out. So you
Yeah.
don't want that to happen.
But empowering
and
them.
you don't want to leave that to your kids to do. That's
Right.
the thing, is that that generation, they're so responsible. They don't want to have their kids have to clean out that basement with all the leftover tile and the leftover pieces of wood. They understand it's an overwhelming task. So that's something, they're a good group to say, let's get this done now so that you can get into a safe, easy to manage living environment, and your kids won't worry about you, and they won't go, oh my God, I'm going to have to clean out the house when they go.
Right.
So.
And it reduces so much stress too, so then independence is actually longer. And that's one of my whole goals here in Pembroke as the Director of the Council on Aging, is helping people figure out how to remain independent for as long as possible, and how to reduce the stressors and just all the accumulation of life's history. It's hard to get rid of it, but it's hard to know where to start too. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. The time does go by fast, doesn't it?
It does, it does. And I just, in closing, in my own family, I'm sitting here listening. I feel very fortunate because when my parents were ready to move out of their house of 40+ years, my sister-in-law spearheaded painting and cleaning out their house, and we ended up emptying their entire house, painting the whole thing inside, refinishing the floors, and then she said, only the furniture that's going to make this house sell will go back in. And I think my parents respected it so much more because she was a daughter-in-law and not the daughter or the son, but it was a great feeling. And it was really afterwards, once we got done and we did the weeding and they let us do it, they thought it was fabulous. So, I feel lucky in that way, just personally, that we were able to help my parents, but also that they let us do it. They trusted in all of us. So.
Right. You have to trust the person doing it.
But for the folks that don't have or don't know where to start, you're a fabulous resource here in Pembroke. So.
And I always tell a joke when I meet with people, so that's a good thing. They'll get a laugh, and they'll get some good information. And I love hearing people's stories of where things came from, because I'm still a social worker at heart. So.
You are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Janet.
Thank you, Anna.
And thank you for watching Elder Savvy.